Welcome to Speak Forward English, where we help you master the language with confidence.
Hey, Jerry, how are you doing today?
Sophia, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. So, I thought today we could talk about something really practical, kitchen routines in English. You know, the kind of everyday vocabulary people actually use.
Oh, that's perfect. I mean, we all spend so much time in the kitchen, right? It's one of those topics that's super useful for English learners.
Exactly. And before we dive in, if you're enjoying this conversation and want to improve your English listening skills, please subscribe to Speak Forward English. It really helps us create more content for you.
Yes, definitely subscribe. So, Sophia, let's start with the morning routine. What's the first thing you do when you walk into your kitchen in the morning?
Well, honestly, the very first thing I do is turn on the coffee maker. I can't function without my morning coffee. I usually say something like, I need to brew some coffee, or I'm going to make a pot of coffee.
Same here. Coffee's essential. So, we can use brew or make when talking about coffee. That's good to know. What about breakfast preparation? How do you usually describe that?
Well, it depends on the day. Sometimes I'll say, I'm going to whip up some scrambled eggs, or I'll just grab a quick bowl of cereal. The phrase whip up is really common in American English when you're making something simple and fast.
Right, whip up. I love that expression. And what about when you're doing something more elaborate, like maybe on weekends?
Oh, on weekends, I might say, I'm going to prepare a full breakfast, or I'm cooking up some pancakes and bacon. You can also say fix breakfast. That's very common in American English. Like, let me fix us some breakfast.
Fix breakfast. Yeah, that's interesting because it doesn't mean repair, right? It just means to prepare or make.
Exactly. It can be confusing for learners, but yeah, fix in this context just means to prepare food. You can fix lunch, fix dinner, fix a snack, whatever.
Got it. So what about the actual cooking process? What are some common phrases people use while they're cooking?
Oh, there are so many. Let me think. While cooking, you might say things like, I need to preheat the oven to 350 degrees, or let me chop these onions, or I'm sautéing the vegetables.
Those are great examples. And what about more basic actions, like when you're just starting to cook?
Sure, you might say, I need to get out a pan, or let me grab a cutting board. Oh, and I'm going to heat up the skillet is really common too. In American kitchens, we often use skillet and pan interchangeably.
That's helpful. And what about when things are actually cooking? What do people say?
Well, you might say, the water is boiling, or I need to stir the sauce, or let this simmer for 10 minutes. Oh, and here's a common one. Keep an eye on the stove, which means to watch it carefully so nothing burns.
Yes, I've definitely had to tell myself that many times. Keep an eye on it is such a useful phrase. What about when you're following a recipe?
Oh, good question. So, when following a recipe, you might say things like, the recipe calls for 2 cups of flour, or I need to measure out the ingredients, or let me check the recipe again.
And, what about mixing? There are different ways to mix things, right?
Yes, you can stir, whisk, beat, fold, or blend ingredients. For example, I'm whisking the eggs, or beat the butter and sugar together, or fold in the blueberries gently. Each one describes a different type of mixing.
That's really detailed. I never thought about how many different words we have just for mixing. What about when you're done cooking? What do you say?
Well, you might say, dinner's ready, or food's done. Or if you're calling someone to eat, you could say, come and get it, which is very casual and American. Or more formally, dinner is served.
Come and get it. I love that. So casual and friendly. Now, what about cleaning up? That's a big part of the kitchen routine, too.
Oh, yes. The not so fun part. You might say, I need to do the dishes, or let me load the dishwasher, or I'll wash these by hand. And what about clearing the table? How do you describe that? You can say, I'll clear the table, or let me put away the leftovers, or can you wipe down the counter? Oh, and take out the trash, or empty the trash for dealing with garbage.
Right, right. What about when you're putting things away after cleaning?
Good point. You might say, I'm putting away the clean dishes, or let me put this back in the pantry, or I need to store the leftovers in the fridge. Americans often just say fridge instead of refrigerator in casual conversation.
Yeah, fridge is so much easier to say. What about organizing the kitchen? What kind of language do people use for that?
Well, you might say, I need to reorganize the cabinets, or let me clean out the fridge, or I should go through the pantry and throw out expired food. Clean out the fridge, that's a great expression.
What about grocery shopping and meal prep? That's part of the kitchen routine too, isn't it?
Absolutely. For grocery shopping, you might say, I need to make a shopping list, or we're running low on milk, or I'm going to the grocery store, do we need anything?
And running low on, that means you're almost out of something, right?
Exactly. You can say, we're running low on coffee, or we're almost out of bread. Both mean pretty much the same thing. And when something is completely gone, you say, we're out of eggs, or we ran out of butter.
Perfect. What about meal planning? How do people talk about that?
You might say, I'm planning this week's meals, or what should we have for dinner tonight, or I'm trying to figure out what to cook. A lot of people also say, I'm meal prepping for the week, which means preparing multiple meals in advance.
Meal prep is so popular now. What kind of specific phrases do people use during meal prep?
Well, you might say, I'm chopping vegetables for the week, or I'm portioning out the meals, or I'm batch cooking chicken breast. Batch cooking means cooking a large quantity of something all at once.
That's smart. What about when you're looking for ingredients? What do people typically say?
Oh, good one. You might say, where did I put the paprika? Or do we have any olive oil? Or I can't find the garlic. Or if you're checking, let me see if we have tomatoes.
I'm always losing things in my kitchen. What about when you're talking about kitchen appliances? What are the common phrases?
Well, you might say, I'm going to microwave this for 2 minutes, or let me blend this smoothie, or I need to toast some bread. Notice how we use the appliance name as a verb sometimes, like microwave or toast or blend.
That's interesting. So the appliance becomes the action. What about the oven and stove?
Right. You say, I'm baking cookies in the oven, or I'm roasting vegetables, or I'm grilling chicken on the stovetop. Oh, and I'm using the slow cooker, or I'm air frying some French fries. Air fryers are super popular now.
Yes, everyone has an air fryer these days. What about when something goes wrong in the kitchen? What do people say?
Oh no. Well, you might say, I burned the toast, or the milk boiled over, or I overcooked the pasta. Or if you make a mistake, I added too much salt, or oops, I forgot to set the timer.
We've all been there. What about when you're adjusting seasoning? How do you talk about that?
You might say, this needs more salt, or let me add some pepper, or I'm going to season it with herbs, or taste this and tell me what you think. Oh, and this could use a little more spice, or it's a bit bland.
A bit bland. Yeah, that's a polite way of saying it needs more flavor. What about temperatures? How do people describe that?
Well, you can say, this soup is too hot, or the coffee's lukewarm, or this salad is nice and cold. Or when heating things up, you say, I need to warm this up, or let me reheat the leftovers.
Good examples. What about textures? How do we describe how food feels?
Oh, there are so many texture words. You might say, this bread is crusty, or the cake is moist, or these crackers are stale, or the vegetables are crispy.
And what about when food is not cooked properly?
You might say, this meat is undercooked, or the vegetables are overcooked and mushy, or the pasta is too soft, it should be al dente. Al dente is actually an Italian phrase we use in English, meaning the pasta is cooked but still firm.
Right, right. What about when you're serving food? What phrases do people use?
You can say, let me dish this out, or I'll serve the soup, or help yourself to more, or would you like seconds? Seconds means a second helping or more food.
I always want seconds. What about when you're offering food to guests?
Oh, you might say, would you like some coffee? Or can I get you anything? Or there's more if you want it. Or please have some more. Americans are usually pretty insistent about offering food to guests.
That's true. Very hospitable. What about discussing dietary restrictions? That's important nowadays.
Absolutely. You might ask, do you have any food allergies? Or are you vegetarian? Or is there anything you don't eat? And when explaining your own restrictions, I'm lactose intolerant, or I don't eat gluten, or I'm allergic to nuts.
Those are important phrases to know. What about when you're complimenting someone's cooking?
Oh, there are lots of ways. You can say, this is delicious, or you're a great cook, or this is amazing, or this tastes incredible. Or more specific compliments like, the seasoning is perfect, or this is cooked just right.
Everyone loves to hear their cooking is appreciated. What about when you're cooking with someone else? What kind of conversation happens there?
Well, you might say things like, can you hand me that spoon? Or, could you stir this while I chop the onions? Or, let's work together. You do the salad and I'll handle the main dish. Lots of teamwork language.
Teamwork makes the dream work. What about timing in the kitchen? How do people talk about that?
Good question. You might say, this'll take about 30 minutes, or let it cook for 15 minutes, or I'll set a timer, or how much longer until it's done. Time management is so important in cooking.
Definitely. What about when you're multitasking in the kitchen?
Oh, you might say, I'm making the sauce while the pasta cooks, or I'll prepare the salad while the chicken is in the oven, or let me do the dishes while this simmers. The word while is really useful for describing simultaneous actions.
That's true. What about kitchen safety? What phrases relate to that?
Important topic. You might say, be careful, the pan is hot, or watch out for the steam, or don't touch that, it's hot, or let me use a pot holder. Safety first in the kitchen.
Absolutely. What about storage and organization phrases?
You might say, I'm organizing the spice rack, or these containers are for leftovers, or label the containers with the date, or keep the milk on the top shelf. Good organization makes cooking so much easier.
For sure. Well, I think we've covered a lot of great kitchen vocabulary today.
We really have. And remember, everyone, if this conversation helped you, please subscribe for daily English listening practice. It helps us continue making content for you.
Yes, please do subscribe. Thanks for listening, everyone. Happy cooking and happy learning.
See you next time. Keep practicing your English.